Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of the Truth Forum today is NED is in fact a subagent of CIA. NED is in fact a subagent of CIA. The content of this topic may be a little bit too long, so we will divide it into two parts, and now we are going to present to you the first part, and later on we will do the next part. About 2 weeks ago, the 11th Global Conference of World Movement for Democracy was held at Higher Regency, Taipei. Of course, this conference sounds like a high-level international forum, so Taiwanese government will pitch in a lot of effort and money to complete this conference. But I believe most of the Taiwanese people don't have a slight idea about this conference. And even the people of the whole world don't have much knowledge about this conference. So I'll try to make a brief introduction of this conference. The Global Conference of World Movement for Democracy is not a standing body. It was founded in the year of 1999, and the conference have been held for approximately every 2 years. Of course, people would like to know, how was this conference founded in the beginning? Well, this conference was organized by an NGO of the United States called National Endowment for Democracy, which is abbreviated to NED. But the strange thing is, NED is funded by the Congress of the United States. So this organization is funded by governmental budget. Then here comes the funny situation. How can you call a government-funded organization an NGO? Furthermore, after NED was operated for 20 to 30 years, the whole world knows that NED is in fact the subagent of CIA. So NED is actually a fake NGO. It is an intelligence organization in disguise. Though United States government never admit it, they always claim this is a rumor. Unfortunately, there have been too many evidences which make the whole world know this fraud. If you don't believe me, you can look into Wikipedia web pages and check out for a famous American scholar, Mearsheimer, who is a chair professor of Chicago University. Especially, Mearsheimer became well known than ever since the war of Russia versus Ukraine broke out in February this year, because Mearsheimer has predicted in the year of 2014 that Russia will attack Ukraine before long. And his prediction came true half a year ago. So many people call him prophet. In Mearsheimer's Wikipedia web pages, we can see that Mearsheimer has expressed his strong objections toward the United States government's policy to sell their concept and system of democracy to the whole world, especially to all her allies. Mearsheimer also concluded that only if we review the history of last half century, we have to admit that this strategy has never succeeded, not even once. Mearsheimer further explained the reasons why this strategy would fail again and again. He said, when every nation was struggling for her survival and prosperity, the mood of nationalism will always prevail people's desire for democracy. Mearsheimer's opinions can be seen not only in Wikipedia web pages, but also in many videos, recordings of his lectures in YouTube websites. I highly agree with most of Mearsheimer's analysis and conclusions, but I disagree with his analysis of reasons why United States government always fail in pushing democracy to her allies. And I think the reason why United States government's strategy always fail is because most of her allies will wake up in very short time that the democratic system established under the instructions of United States government is not real democracy. But this democratic system will become a tool of United States government to control their country. So finally, their democratic system will no longer serve their own people, but to serve the national interest of the United States. Unfortunately, some allies wake up too late until they were betrayed and sacrificed by U.S. government. Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Ukraine are typical examples of the loyal but stupid allies of the United States. Of course, many people would raise a question. Since the president or the prime minister or even other important political figures in a democratic country are all elected by people's votes, then how can United States government control her allies? But my analysis is that United States government take the advantage of her position as the most advanced and most powerful country over the whole world. So she would help her allies by cultivating their outstanding leaders of every major political parties. So when the time comes, they will support the person who can best serve the national interests of the United States to gain power. And whoever became the national leader of that allied country have to obey the orders from U.S. government. Now let me give you a few examples for your reference. The first example is Korea. During Park Chung-hee and Chong Do-hwan's ruling, the famous Korean dissidents Kim Dae-jung and Kim Yong-san were severely persecuted, and both of them went through attempted assassinations, but they were luckily protected by CIA. And later on, when the proper time came their way, they were sent back to Korea and became president of Korea in consecutive terms. And when these two President Kims served as the president of Korea, would they obey instructions from United States government? Of course, because Americans were their savior. So they will not hesitate to take orders from U.S. government. Furthermore, I can give you another example, which is Philippines. When Marcos was in power, he was already badly corrupted and rejected by most of Philippine people. But he was still backed up by United States government because he was very submissive to U.S. government. But eventually, President Marcos was overthrown by Philippine people. Then United States government sent Corazon Aquino back to win the election and became the president of Philippines. And about 10 years later, her son Benicio Aquino also became the president of Philippines. And both Corazon and her son are loyal servants of U.S. government because both of them were protected and cultivated by U.S. government. United States controlled the Philippines for nearly 70 years, but in the year of 2016, a very unique political figure, Rodrigo Duterte, won the presidential election and became the president of Philippines. Duterte completed his education in Philippines and did not go to United States for college or graduate study. So he's very independent. He fought hard for Philippine people. He did not fear of pressure from international superpower. He told U.S. government, you don't ever try to control me. And if you insist doing it, I'll tell you to get out of my country. Even Duterte is very rude to U.S. government. Americans dare not confront him directly because United States have the most important air base and naval base in Southeast Asia in Philippines. But during Duterte's presidential term, U.S. government strongly support Duterte's rival, the world champion Philippine boxer Emmanuel Pacquiao, and attempt to overthrow Duterte's government. Lastly, let's take a look at Taiwan. Since World War II, U.S. government has supported KMT for more than half century. But while U.S. government supported KMT, they at the same time was cultivating Taiwanese independence group in states. But back then, U.S. government on one hand cultivate Taiwanese independence group and on the other hand restrained them because United States was seeking coalition with China to resist Russia. So U.S. government did not want to see Taiwanese independence group damage Sino-U.S. relationships back then. But since 2010, Americans suddenly realized that China's super fast growth already threatened the solo superpower position of United States. So United States started steering wheel to support Taiwanese independence. This is why DPP, which is the political party in Taiwan advocating Taiwanese independence, can defeat KMT and become ruling party in very short time. And this is also why President Ma Ying-jeou was so weak and so much afraid of DPP. Actually, what we see is that Ma Ying-jeou was not really afraid of DPP. He was afraid of U.S. government. Okay, and here we end the first part of this topic. And later on, we will do the second part. Thank you very much.